incredible. Thank you all so much for being here. It's an absolute pleasure and thrill to be welcoming Fred Moten, López, and Ken Taylor this evening. Just gonna help a little spring. All right. So yeah, super exciting night. I'll try to be brief. But I'm Mike Nguyen. I'm the programming director here at Woodland Pattern. Just a few things to say on behalf of Woodland Pattern, and then we'll let it rip. The first is I'd like to offer a land acknowledgement. We do before events, so I'd like to begin with a land acknowledgement and say that we at Woodland Pattern acknowledge that here in Milwaukee we live and work on traditional Potawatomi, Ho-Chunk, and Menominee homelands along the southwest shores of Michigan, part of North America's largest system of freshwater lakes where the Milwaukee, Menominee, and Kinnickinnick rivers meet, and the people of Wisconsin sovereign Anishinaabe, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, Oneida, and Mohican nations remain present. We further acknowledge the grave evil colonialism introduced to these lands through genocide as well as slavery, but also via racist and xenophobic beliefs, laws, and practices that continue to inflict harm upon Black, Brown, and Indigenous lives. We honor those who have lived and do now at these intersections of identity and experience and are committed to the active dismantling of white supremacy. Thank you all again for joining us. A couple things to note. One is that this is a crossover event between two series. One is our Through Lines reading series focused on lyric innovation in contemporary poetry and made possible with support from the NEA. And then the Alternating Currents Live concert series. For that series, Alternating Currents Live, typically series curator Hal Randall would be up here hosting, so I shall do my best. But since it's me, I thought I'd take an occasion to thank Hal for going on 30 years of incredible music programming. Truly consistently remarkable. This will be the last spring concert, and then in the fall, stay tuned. There will be more to come. Our friends with the Bridge and other exciting stuff. So. What else do I need to mention? There are books for sale and LPs and CDs at the front, so check that out if you have not already, or check it out again. And then upcoming. The main thing I want to mention that's coming up is our inaugural for this season Poetry in the Park reading. So I hope you will come see us at Juno Park on Tuesday, June 11th at 6:30 p.m. And that lineup, it's really fantastic lineup. It's going to be Oliver Anthony Trauchik, Louis Friedman, somewhere, and Kimberly Ovidio and Stacy Stamasic. So amazing lineup, a Woodland Pattern party too, so everybody's sort of affiliated, at least adjacently. So I hope to see you there next Tuesday, Juno Park, this Tuesday, I guess, this or next, however you want to think about it. June 11th at 6:30. All right, that's enough of that. It's now my pleasure to introduce Ken Taylor, López, and Fred Moten. Ken will, just to give you a little rundown, Ken will kick things off with the reading, followed by a duo set, Brandon and Fred, and then all of them performing together to close things out, which will just sort of run continuously and no doubt be incredible. At one point in Variations in the Dream of X, Ken Taylor's latest book, just out with Black Square Editions, Taylor writes, quote, "There's no I in team, but as Shaq said, Kobe said, there's a me in that motherfucker." A lot of ways to take that, but perhaps obliquely and with a bit of latitude, one could see it as a reflection of the bob and weave, the pick and roll of the me and the we, the single and singular voice, never wholly single, always in of necessity and collaboration and concert. No play is made alone. And Ken Taylor, Brandon López, and Fred Moten, Motens are all unique voices, so often heard in collaboration, where even each individual published work is part of a rich conversation with others across time and space. From Variations on the Dream of X, which is described as a meta-theatrical project, a play within poems, where, as Mark Scroggins notes, quote, polyphony of voices upturn and queer all the categories, class and classiness, race and species, gender and genre. Spartans goes on to call the book utterly unclassifiable, eccentric and central, hilarious and heart-stoppingly beautiful. To Brandon López's playing, which moves from the quietly ambulatory, the insistently percussive, coiled vortices among other modes of voicing. His is, as has been noted in a Cleveland Review of Books, quote, virtuosity is vocabulary, a total command of texture, subtlety, and a depth that can be reached into. And Fred Moten's writing, which, as Harmony Holiday notes, quote, unite style, rigor, and form so seamlessly that the lesser musics will simply be forgotten. Moten is so frequently in conversation with fellow travelers through works which are themselves frequently traveling, are marked by a recursive, quote, serial eddying, and which ask, quote, what is it to reside without settling? So, it's an incredible pleasure to be in company of these singularly unsettled voices now here restlessly together for a, quote, reveling, a collective contending. Please welcome Ken Taylor, Brandon López, and Fred Moten.
Hey, how's this? Is this good right here? Great. So I was here, I guess, about 10 years ago, and this book came after that. It's called Aromancy Garage, which is divination by weather patterns, and I've used clouds as a delivery system for the poems, so they're all entitled Cloud in the Shape of Something. I'm going to read a couple poems from that. And the first one was in the book dedicated to Jenny and Laura. So it's called Cloud in the Shape of Dark and Stormy. My safe word is more, and the tiki bar insistence beats away from the backroom reprise, where hidden is on display, where line-caught valences of pudency bound for binding show signs of resistance, or broken shining and white air trembling if the glamorous preset is turned off by an uncanny notion of sampling. Writing it out is the ratio of penumbra to aquatic, of totem to blowfish, when a future condition of 6 hours past 5 in the afternoon adheres to looping inside a square. A blueprint addressing exotic divisions waits for honey between Lucy's, like landlubbers enamored with chop, with a corrugated sea, and a complex nose of crafting the pour of grapheme synesthesia over cubes of tasting notes that raise a drink and sinking to a scent. This is called Cloud in the Shape of the Rapture, brought to you by KFC. An order of thighs sent through static has more sway on delight than 8 bars of the King and I. Tines of their sports are best tuned to eating soup. The second shift drops a lot to keep head count up, as do pendants spoofing infinity into the parking lot. Telephone lines accrue, a cloud, a tree, a lodestar, the corner of a sign. On TV, the contestant buys a vowel to solve a thing and win a trip to orangeries. 1 cop car means a run on biscuits. 2's responding to a false alarm from yesterday. A tree nurse yields to trumpet creeper and gets trouble to go. Others hope for a jingoist whoosh. Lower gas prices remain a tailwind if we agree to not install malware or launch packet floods. The fry cook takes a breather between baskets and keeps a weather eye on wings. The postmodern kernel in white on white on white is all about revelations, like winning back position as the top chicken chain. Could be 5 for 5 this time instead of 2 by 2. Finger looking good. This is a project I'm working on now. It's called, well, it started out called 57 Wyoming, so I've written kind of more than that, so I don't know how many it's going to be, but 10 of them are in this little chapbook published by Kennedy Press. I don't know if you know them, they're great. Vladimir Hitchbansky up in Kingston, New York. Anyway, he was kind enough to do these. So I'm going to read 2 short poems and 1 long poem from this. This was like initially, it was an idea of memoir. I used to work in Wyoming in the late 70s, and then it became something I wanted to explore in present and future time, and then outside of the bounds of the state. So kind of all over the place now, I guess. But, so all the poems are titled Wyoming. Wyoming. Out here I'm the town, and the town is a frontier bar, and the bar is a camp for loose promising that I enter between times. It's the height of powwow season. The joint is packed with vegans trying to rethink barbecue, baroque kinships counting frames meant to be melodic. I check my gun at the door. My mind across expeller-pressed ontologies begins with cavity and stress to model the barometric effect of a rustic spot on the way to a different destination, attached to this destination, being the destination. Be kind to people if you want good karma. Be a dipshit if you want bad karma. Oh, you meant Reddit karma. Same thing. The bar opens hitherto darker parts. Undercurrent, unbecoming shadows hang in the hall. The observed become observers. Differences built by spolia are removed in the interest of a sepsis. Past the kneel-down bread and jackfruit, fled among overpainted moths, weave placeholders through a dislodging practice. There are rooms upstairs for those who have had too much or reached a level understanding, baggage shifting, a willingness to share soft carry-alls with travelers, seizing slippery as it comes into play. I get by as a bulldogger, mechanic, whitewater rafting on the snake, pay my one night's rent to assume a corpse pose in the season of the shortest day, closest to the sun, when attraction swells and strangers clutch. Wyoming. Double first cousins outside of town, quadruple great-grandfather, all part of my origin story. Not inbreeds exactly, but more like where stars fell. Drawn from the bounds of a 6-note scale to stay within our dulcet proximity, I was free to roam banks of the unincorporated along the lower Coosa, where windbreaks slowed gusts but hindered spread, and sheds lined the curtilage of our nose count designation, a middling ground between mill houses and sheepskins. When you went to war, the choppers you boxed in dreams were later flown by pilots taking me to other slap-out spots. Owl creeks below Meeteetse, bighorns above Tinsley, hunting oil beyond the measure of my prehension, where any sight was equidistant to nowhere. I wonder if I'm only here to regret pushing back on parallel running in thick time, hyper-connected by the disconnect of vast objects, always already enclosed by a score, reduplicating you or me, like shape notes in a songbook, prefiguring the selves of fugues, sacred harp singings from deep in the woods. My escape is 6 shots of stupid with the bar back, distressing the interval of the third in favor of fourths and fifths, falling out long after last call into the winter constellations, Canis Major, Orion, Taurus, Auriga, can't find Gemini lost in this abundant past that projects ecliptics, the remote path of our celestial sphere. This is a little long one, it's called Wyoming. The want ad reads, no, that's the wrong one, sorry. Wyoming. On the books, it's a weather day, but likely a permanent problem. Ranchers don't yield, a gate left open and several head got out, or a chopper parked on an off-limits field. Weather's no surprise. You can see it coming for weeks, especially now among the lower elevations. We take bets on rain, sleet, snow, down to the quarter hour, scoff at ill-informed TV. They have a word for someone tan with a pretty mouth, explaining system dip, actor, model, whatever, bearing witness to simulated gusting, cameras swiveling up. If ratings slip, he'll quote boost local scandals to inflate acidic discourse or parade a B-roll plea before they shoot. No matter, we're shut down, which leads to idle hands. which leads to peyote. You're packing buttons, I snag a frisbee. We head along the healing plot-off road before the common arrow, slice it up, mask the taste, get ready to puke. Prairie fire thrives here, classified as broom rape among the understories. The lack of lower petal lip denies insects the perch and hides nectar rewards the long end of tubes. The Shoshone knew their showy cup-like bracts as love charm or poison against foes, depending on which end they used. Last century school kids picked it for state flower, supposed to keep vampires away. Just ask a hummingbird or bee. Whatever the physics behind the airfoil shape that describes a frisbee returning to its launch, reverse tier, map drop on a plug-in grid, method of broadcast beyond the power of talk, I don't try to catch it. The mescaline ride begun. The sun will soon set and this disc sings. Let loose your leaf boats, tread your beholding, everything that curls your toes once in. I shed the sidekick me, unlink, recompose, my wake erasing evidence of before. I've entered opaque flatness like a dream of a mad horse in clover, mindest, earthian, grappler, level body in lieu of a plain, nursing perspective of the sagebrush step. I feel the eyes of pronghorn and other furtive life on the high desert, where wagon ruts remain between cedar and thistle, etched by pioneers traveling the Oregon Trail. Killdeer and willets cry from the shores of chain lakes. The great divide parts and reforms around me like clouds tumbling in time lapse, where arrows once fractured space from every bearing. My head rests on the crackalure of a prehistoric fossil bed performing a dirt nap, rare ending in the dense beginning of some backcloth lit like scary Vegas clowns on slots. Souls are knit to pamphlets from an ancient inland sea. My hands drip with roiling, psychotropic kickdown. Storming dominates my project. Indelible fabrics and weavings to downwinders. I can suddenly speak Low German. Was ist dein Name? Wo latest Ombit? Wo sechst du dat? Oh, plot. But my lips don't move. Why is there no plain heart, placid flame, no smoke rising into the arms of the cross? Is this the blood I'm to drink? The body that will hustle me down the rotary road if I have cash, subject to exalted slanting? I recall warped shreds, barely holding patterns of keeping warm, once stitched inside Alabama gossip before purple hull peas on low boil, by pluperfect hands that sprinkled rust on lunch for their daily dose of iron. Rows of the back five set wide enough to plow under weeds, less food, but less work getting it to forks. The throb of lightning bugs calling for others jar to jar, leading us through summer pines. I shot turtles coming up for air from 100 yards with my .22 to keep them off the brim bed, and ate duck eggs, delivering twice the yolk to mix with biscuits and grits. Colors in triptych lighter apposite my ether, lavender, shot gray, cream, polishing earth tones, paying homage to those who made pots, rubbing elbows with Hollywood green. Is that a Zephyr tailgate party? No, it's the acoustic radiation from a fiddle deified by volume change. The sound hole geometry of advancing to coincide with the spot of last hurrahs, depicted in half pen, opaque watercolor. A carrot morphs to a stick. I consider petty lumps as versions of wallet. It's clear my heretofore will pass through riddling phases to be rebuilt with thick impasto, with raw shimmer, the meaty view that stares down on vacancy from what no longer surfs the air. The spat of rufous shadow split like spilt feathers of a ticking factory. A hawk lights close on the prickly pear. Sun behind, thaumaturge, gunslinger, draws me into the terror of her gaze. I seem to have excellent radar defeat, like multiple blocks of negative space, to be looking through an archer slit to a circus, to what comes in the dusk of my needs. The hawk will speak. A row of letters parts her beak. I record this dispatch like mesh, leaking hush, footnotes troubled with drift. I repair sequence to copy damage intact. The vista's been shaped with topiary shears. Candy skulls stream from the waxing moon. We go deep into the code freeze of a snow western, the coldness of stances, where the future smell of a quad shot cortado waits on a stand in an alcove below a staircase, everything being captured on the bedsheet of a film buff's basement. A bell rings, a door opens, the host puts down his news, stocking stops, all turn to the entrance, pre-sale smiles shape mouths. I'm here to buy paw-safe sidewalk salt for a dog long gone, shadows stack, prey and pursuit circle in a special pact, in an 8-count move passing back or together, we return to facing, dancing inside a many-folded thing. I fear these enclosing spheres may hinder my would-be ascent. I am all of these, but which is the I that is me? Please be my chimney fire, my color cast, my heart's gravel conquest, wherefore these voices have mercy. Stars poke through the gloaming, spirit riding waves, seeping equivalent dust as the terms of their shining. Abstract degrees preserve aspect ratios, poising a pure path to the bears, performing the far-flung blanket and infinite inside me. Fair to say, wet finger in the air, adverse wind will always stay, requiring sharp attending. I reach for the hawk, a changeling chancing shine race. She pixelates into the throw of a dervish. A thrum issues the presence of absence, low temple magic, taper fade, blood reagent glow, not there. Okay, thanks for hanging with that, appreciate it. I'm gonna read 2 short things from this, and then I'll give it over to Brendan and Fred. So this is poems, and then there's 4 characters. The characters are X, the speaker in the poem, the red fox, and the imaginary hockey team from Tracy, California. Those are the 4 characters. And the hockey team kind of functions like a chorus. So there's poems that have the characters put on a play, more poems and then a postscript. So I'll read one poem about X, and then I'll read a monologue at the end of the play. So this is called X from Life Portrait. Thought I was going to burp, sorry. It's a glass of water, so don't do it while I read. Okay, X from Life Portrait. Before unfastening an echo, we find essence floating in the void, in a 2-place tie between observed and unnerved light, a subject and a scheme advancing our cloud of breath. It is manifest to us that we as self are the object of our gaze, reading the prelude to a body in colloquy with not yet saying. And by a body, we mean suspect and untried integration. We mean viscera and instinct replying to how time binds, like a freeze in shallow water winding with aortal tones. We wade into a tall unknown toward the space of our seeming. The prestige of the word is a prearrangement of windows where we take uneven turns inclined to brinks of our practice. What's prized is evident to us, that it's us we're clearly expecting. And before what's said has taken shape or presents as malingering furls, we seek the seeker that might be us, lost in a knot as a manifold self, bound up in body-bound responses, smoothed to reach a sea change. And by a body, we mean the timing trick of large-scale synchronicity. We mean barring episodic cants and a flair for the looking glass test. The others, flexings, founderings, wonder, touching undiscovered depth. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to read. So the hockey team speaks throughout this book, and so during the play, no one wants the hockey team to speak, and the hockey team is trying to get in there. And then the play doesn't end well, and everybody leaves the stage, and the hockey team takes the stage, and so this is the end of the play, and the hockey team's monologue. But what is hockey, except a term of unknown origin defining a contact sport where 2 teams on skates exchange a vulcanized rubber puck? The area of opposition is rounded corners thrust into seeing, is 10,000 plus frozen gallons X feet long and wide, with lines, dots, circles, creases, all encased in boards external to the purview of consent. There are 3 periods in a hockey game, which is Aristotelian in theatrical structure. There are 6 on the side, and as beautiful as that may be, why not up the game with zest, with unruly dithyrambs urging irregular straining, like banqueters run amok. No call to action, no expected change, no charting dramatic questioning. This is interloper business that follows its own winding, sometimes buoyed by theoria, by inside joy that adds hinging, in a kind of ballet, no different from every other deeply felt song, no different than praising, immune to what would alter, no matter claims of false pretending or dissembling, no calamity, no breakage, no loss. And think about skating. It's beyond surface, outside of melt. Water's low viscosity makes a poor lubricant. There's a magical loosening layer with unforeseen drift, a mystic intermediate between liquid and ice. And with each fresh resurfacing, there's a transformation from uneven to suave, shaving, watering, leaving a wake of safe passage. So why can't there be a club in Tracy, California, if there is vision and faith in restoring some fallen place like Altamont where other angels failed to situate dance? As a conjured band, I have no true antagonists. As varied voices, as a unit with distinctions, I possess an excellence beyond notaries and cashiers. Outside of all capacities past speaking, I am bigger than statuary and painted terracotta, bigger than reanimating history. I'm that choir preaching to ecclesiastics and chorusing to margins with interval singing of unvarnished truths, enacting the plot of bridesmaids, to rise on a slippery service and find purchase, lingering in a measured length of play, disrupting outward and glistening to verging as a way to forward presence in a projection of more, reveling, collectively contending. Can I get a playful cadence? Can I get a soft amen? Kurt. Thanks a lot.